Welcome back to Straight Facts. It's Monday morning. Loads to talk about as Arsenal fight back to grab a big point against Manchester City. Pep Guardiola turns into Jose Mourinho. Who thought they would live to see the day? But are the mainstream media being fair? Isn't it interesting how we're suddenly seeing pragmatism praised, where just a week ago, pragmatism was treated like a leper? Liverpool win 5 straight games. Lots of controversy over the 3 minutes of time added on. Man United managed to, against all odds, really outclass Chelsea. It only took 4 minutes, really, but it was enough for United to go and get a very valuable win. And as we were saying backstage, I feel like I've got a hit. I feel it's nice to come on these. I actually counted. We've been doing these Monday morning shows for 6 months. And in that period, I've only been a winner on this show 4 times. I'm happy. I'm very. Yeah, Liverpool won more games coming into this show on a Monday in 5 weeks than I have in 6 months. So
I forget what it's like to lose. That's the difference.
Yeah, and I forget what it's like to win. 110%. I hear you. So look, an action-packed show this morning. Make sure you stay with us. Get like buttons hit if you haven't done so already. Please make sure that you are subscribing to the Football Terrace as well, and turn that bell notification button on if you haven't done so. But we've got Jamie and I have KJ with me today. George is away on holiday, living his best life. It's funny, again, he seems to always miss the shows where Spurs don't win. Bournemouth. And now Brighton. He's been here for the 3 when they've won. But
to be fair, that Brighton result, I don't think is actually that bad. To be fair, I think is that they actually played pretty well.
No, one of our super chatters on Saturday, and I always respect our super chatters and our community, but he did say that I think we should be going to play, Spurs fan. We should be going to places like Brighton expecting to win. I think anyone, including Liverpool, going to Brighton going, this is it might be must win in terms of the context. If we don't win today, we're at the title race from that point of view. But I think the idea at any point of going to Brighton and thinking,
should they just beat Man City?
Yeah,
well? I know. I mean, it's a tough place to go. It's always been a tough place to go. But yeah, I think Spurs, I think their expectations may be a little bit higher with Thomas Frank because of the start of the season. But yeah, like it's always a tough place to go.
Yeah, absolutely. But so much to delve into from the weekend, really. And I wanted to start with Manchester United versus Chelsea. We're kind of working reverse order, really. And we'll get into the sort of the Arsenal Liverpool stuff a little later as we discuss the sort of title element on this. But viewers, anything you guys want us to cover, any subjects that are on your mind, let us know in the comment section below. Luke Skywalker here says hit the like button in the chat. Absolutely. Just encourage everybody to do that. It takes you 5 seconds. It takes you 5 seconds. Get it done. Get it over the line. Good morning as well to all the viewers. Let us know where you're watching. Morning to Arjan. Thank you very much for being here. We appreciate that massively on the show. Red Vision says morning, Terry, panel and chat. Good morning to you, Red Vision. Good to see you here. I had read. By the way, just speaking of seeing red, did you guys see what happened to the United fan who was trying to grow his hair out?
Yeah, the United Strand.
United Strand is called himself.
Yeah, that's the one. Yeah.
Man. That is okay. So this is what I mean about football fans. I said this in the group chat yesterday because Man United fans have basically got onto Ahmad so much that he's deleted his posts on Instagram. He had a picture of Garnacho that went up, and then boom, since then, bang, like Man United fans are on it. He's been going under a lot of criticism this season already. But football fans love to say that footballers have weak mentalities, have poor mentalities, and they're weak and they're soft and they're crybabies, all these things. But then you get one guy who, because Man United are losing and not performing well, and yet someone who's just having a jovial kind of way of going about it, of just until we win 5 games, I'm not going to cut my hair. He's decided to take his anger out on him and try to harm him and pull out his hair. For one, he probably needed it for his own head top because there was not one follicle on his bald head. And 2, him doing what he's doing is not cause for you to attack him in that way. He's not profiting off Man United losing. He's just having a joke. He's doing something jovial because at the end of the day, if you don't laugh, you cry. And yeah, football fans are the biggest crybabies in the game, man. I don't care what anyone says. They like to act like they're not, but we are.
Yeah. There's like a fine line, like, you know what I mean? He's just someone that I'd say when he started that, he was not expecting it.
Yeah, he didn't know this would happen. You know,
he's like I struggling to get. I don't think they have 2 wins in a row under Amram. So like trying to get 5. I don't think he was expecting it to go for this time. But yeah, doing something like that is just ridiculous. You know what I mean? Your man looked like he had maybe a few beers on him and stuff, but like that's assault. You know what I mean? You're assaulting someone at a match for like taking it, like having a bit of a laugh.
Yeah, absolutely. And you know, I'm not someone that you gotta be careful how you say this because you always get misinterpreted. But I mean, as you say, it's assault. It's a criminal offense. I'm not suggesting he'd go to prison, but he could certainly be arrested. He could certainly end up with a caution or a criminal record at the end of that. And for what reason? The idea that him doing this thing online is going to make Manchester United a worse team is ridiculous. I don't think the players. I think that if you abuse players online, like you go over the top with it, you can create that feeling of pressure. I think if you're overly nasty or create expectations that are unrealistic, which we see a lot in the current game, that could be a problem. I can understand if you're a fan who's prominent online and you spend your whole time attacking your football club, lying about your football club and being nasty. I'm not condoning what may happen to you at a ground, but I can half understand it in terms of if I sit on camera now and say everyone who goes to games is a scumbag because they give the Glazers money, and I use words like that regularly, and then someone who does that confronts me, it doesn't make them come confronting me, right? But I am kicking a bee's nest. And so I get that perspective. But this lad's it's a bit of fun to attack him over that, to grab and pull his hair. There is just no defending it at any level. But this has been going on for years, and it's why I've always pushed back against the likes of Talk. It's like really funny, really, because TalkSport, one of the biggest problems in this, where 5-6 years ago they were attacking fan media, playing it down, saying publicly how bad it was for football clubs. That then fueled the likes of AFTV getting attacked. It's why I don't quite understand why people from the fan channel community go on there and support the likes of TalkSport and Sky, who spent years attacking us, which is why fans at grounds attack you, because the mainstream media said that we were scum, but now you're getting a paycheck from them. Again, if you're not someone that called it out, fair enough, but I've never quite understood the people doing that. It's always struck me as a little strange, especially TalkSport, because still Jim White sits there and does the whole so-called fan media. I just don't get why you'd then go and sit in a studio with him when people like him fan these flames. But yeah, I thought it was absolutely disgraceful. And for me personally, I hope that, again, that's the kind of thing. Well, I know no one likes cancel culture, but I expect Manchester United Football Club to kick that fan out the club. There is no reason. There's probably a few, to be fair. We won't go into those, but you're putting hands on someone. That's it. Should be zero tolerance. You ain't coming back into the football club. It wasn't like the United Strand was trying to mug someone. It wasn't like he was touching up a woman, like, without consent. Do you know what I'm saying? It wasn't like he wasn't trying to steal someone's kid. I can understand hands being thrown then, but growing your hair, fuck off. That man's got to be out of the club, like, straight away. I don't care. Call me out for cancel culture if you want, but everyone should go to a game and feel safe. There's no reason to go to a game and feel like you might be hurt by someone over growing your hair. We shouldn't be letting people in like that.
Like I said, same people saying that footballers are soft because you can't take a bit of a criticism, which is actually abuse, but they call it criticism, are the same ones crying that a guy's crying, he's flipping, growing out his hair. Like, it's just funny, and the irony is strong. But on to the football.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And look, Manchester United, the game itself, it was a weird. What did you make of it, Jamie? Because obviously KJ and I spoke about it on Saturday. We were on the highlight show on the terrace. What did you make of the game? You know, United started off very well, scored a goal, got a Chelsea player sent off, dominating, and then got a man sent off themselves. But what did you make of Man United? Because there hasn't really been a lot of talk on how Man United played in this game. It's all been about the red cards and it's, if you actually read the headlines of Sky Sports the morning after, you would have thought Man United lost, to be honest with you. It was a bit weird. But what did you make of the game in itself?
Yeah, it's weird. Just when you were talking about that as well, you kind of look at the situation between Man City and Man United are more or less on like a similar league position, and the talk about them is very different in terms of like how they're going about things. And I think there's probably a bit more give with Man City because of obviously what they've done previously. But yeah, I think the performance, it's kind of what you would have expected. Maybe like a reaction to maybe some of the criticism, something that like Ruben Amorim has been looking for. Like I've said 100%, he needs to be a little bit more adaptable. But I think to sack him now after he didn't want to come in, and I've said this on the Football Terrace, sack him now after he didn't want to come in the middle of a season after not having any of the players that he wanted to work with, then giving him 250 million and sacking him 6 games into a season just doesn't make sense to me. And it kind of screams no preparation in terms of like where he's actually want to go. So I think he got the response that he wanted. In terms of the game itself, like I think United started on the front foot. Sanchez, yes, a blood of rush to the head, and he's obviously had to get a red card. That obviously helps. But like, you still have to go on and maybe take it to a very good Chelsea team in terms of like they've just come off the back of like hammering PSG in the Club World Cup. Their season maybe been a little bit up and down at the start, but I think like they still have a lot of options. I think Palmer obviously went off an injury, but United, like when we think about United and say the last few games, they haven't really had that really cutting edge in terms of like obviously maybe converting the chances, and I think they did that really well against Chelsea. I think with United, it's gonna be up and down. Do you know what I mean? You're gonna have moments where maybe you play well, you don't take your chances, you don't get the result that you want, and then you'll maybe some games where you'll just get it over the line. And I think that's just kind of where he's at right now. But I think like be as bad or be as good with your criticism. Be as good with your praise for them getting the result and in a tough fixture under the circumstances. Like the weather was horrific. That would have a big impact on like how maybe they wanted to play. Maybe it played into a little.
It's been raining.
Yeah, it's been raining. But like that would like going out and kind of putting on a show like that and like. I think they deserve a lot of credit because they have been coming under a lot of pressure. It's just about finding that consistency, which will obviously be the big issue for United. But yeah, I think like, listen, it's not in the start of the season that they would have wanted, but like I think they will have kind of 8th, 9th place finish, and it will be a little bit up and down because you're still trying to figure a few things out.
You know what's funny about you? What you just said there about it's not the start we would have wanted. Actually, okay, if we're being honest. 7 points is actually the start we probably would have expected. 2 wins, 2 draw, and 2 losses. We lost to the 2 teams we probably thought we would in Man City and Arsenal. The draw, we probably would have thought the draw with Fulham would be this game. The draw with Chelsea, probably draw at home, and we would have beat Fulham and Burnley. So we are in and around where we probably thought we would have been anyway. Or any realistic balanced Man United fan would have thought, okay, this is probably where we would be. 7 points, decent. It's like an okay start. The problem is I think 2 problems. One is the biggest one, which is the Grimsby game. I think that is still like on a lot of our minds because of how that went down. It's a disgrace. Like I said, it's a sackable offense to lose to Grimsby and go out to Grimsby in the cup. And then 2, it's this idea of hope in performance. So we obviously had such a terrible season last season that Amorim has had his preseason. We've got a few new players, and the idea was that from this preseason we'll see shoots of hope in terms of how we're going to do. We may not be the best, but we will have shoots of hope in how we will play, and you can see how much we've improved, and we will have some confidence, something to hold on to as United fans for the season. What's happened is that we had that moment of hope against Arsenal. Throughout most of the game, we looked pretty threatening, didn't convert our chances. We ended up losing fine. Then we saw 20 minutes, the opening 20 minutes of Fulham. Again, like, okay, hopeful. And then the levels dropped again. And then that maintained for like the last 3 games where it's like levels are dropped. You're not seeing the same kind of intensity. We go against Grimsby, absolutely awful game. Against who do we have after that? Against Burnley. Again, we looked great. But then second half, we allowed Burnley to get back into the game. And we have to get a last minute penalty to win the game again. Not really encouraging in terms of performance. And then obviously Man City were just abject as well. So that is why we're in this position where, even though our points reflect where we probably would have wanted to be at the start of the season, the hope of performance has been so mixed that it's hard to have like that. For United fans, have that balance of actually, we actually where we need to be, like X, Y, and Z. We're not really seeing as much positives as we would like, and even in that Chelsea game. Outside, like me and Terry haven't spoke about this yet. So actually, no, we did a little bit, to be fair, during the game and stuff. But outside of the win and outside of the like the 2 goals and the performance in the first half before Casemiro went, after that point, it again turned into sweaty, squeaky bum time again. That we couldn't make a game easy for ourselves again because Casemiro wanted to. I don't know what possessed him to be it. Just to
but it
do
was
that.
But it was just Casemiro that did that.
Yeah. But
yeah,
in that moment. But then you can then argue: is the reason why that happened was their lack of control in the midfield again? We was very frantic at times in that game. I think there's times where Chelsea played us through us pretty easily, considering they did have 10 men. There's a good few runs from a couple of their players going through. There's a bit of control where you're like, were we as controlled as we needed to be in that game? And then obviously we go down to 10 men, and then Ruben decides, you know what, instead of going for the 3rd goal to kill it off the game, we're gonna consolidate that game, be more structurally sound, and hopefully not lose the lead. And we got that in the end, but they're still in that game. There's still things where you look at it as like, can we improve? You know what I mean? So yeah, it is a big mixed bag for Man United. But if we go on and beat Brentford and we beat Sunderland, we would have what?
They're big ifs.
Points. Pardon?
They're big ifs.
No. That's the thing. We would have 13 points. We'll look at the start of the season and be like, you know what? We're not in a bad spot right now. So this is the big thing. Like you say, it's a big if. We have not seen Man United win back-to-back games in like over a year. That was our first back-to-back home wins in the Premier League for, I think, 6 months or something like it for a while. So we now need the bigger test is next week against Brentford. Can we go and get that win?
It is, but I still feel what we're doing is we're looking beyond the game, and it's pissing me off. I'm sitting here frustrated again. And I'll tell you what I mean by that is I understand and I agree that go beat Brentford now, go beat Sunderland and let's review it. But what we're still not getting credit for is the fact we beat Chelsea. What we're still not getting credit for is that we were, including me, I didn't think we could win this game. We started amazingly. 2 very good chances in the opening 2 minutes. No one's talking about it. Look at the BBC, look at Sky, look at everyone who's put highlights out. They don't include those first 2 chances. They cut them out. Why? It's agenda. We ripped Chelsea to shreds in the opening 4 minutes. They couldn't cope. This is Chelsea, the team that was seen as the favourites for the game by a country mile, the team that are world champions, the team that have rightfully been lauded for weeks and months now. We absolutely tore them to shreds to a point where their goalkeeper panicked. By the way, we were in on goal. We were about to tap a ball in. The Athletic wrote an article saying, should it have been a red card? Because it was covering defenders. They weren't covering. They were behind the play. So what I'm angry about is, from my perspective as a United fan, there's barely been a single piece of analysis praising how we started the game, how we got into the lead, the dominance. I thought we did control the game when it was 10v11. We slowed the game down. They had around 30% of the ball, not a single shot on our goal. Yes, there was times where they'll wriggle through, but that's what happens when you were trying to attack the way they were. The mistake we made was Casemiro as an individual. He panicked. That being said, I saw that exact same foul about 8 times yesterday across the 3 games I watched, and only one person got a yellow card. I still blame Cass. He shouldn't have given the referee a decision to make. I've always felt in football that when you're 11v10, I always feel referees are looking to even things up. I've always felt that, just my view on the game. Mm-hmm. But I was really happy with Man United. Second half, look, I would have kept Šeško on the pitch. I would have taken Ahmad off. That's it. And I wouldn't have taken Maguire off later. Absolutely. I think that criticism is fair. But he did make the right decisions because we won the game. And what I find, there's some people online that have annoyed me this weekend. You've got all the result merchants who every time we don't win I'm talking again. This isn't you. I'm not talking about you. If you're balanced in this, we're on the same side. Don't get your knickers in a twist. All right. Don't be a baby. Don't be a little baby. For me, if you say that results are all that matter, that's it. There should be no complaints at all this weekend. You can't. You cannot nitpick. You've got no legs to stand on. Equally, the TPFs, the toxic positivity fans, attacking everybody that's put any criticism upon the team or Ruben. It's like, you can shut up as well, because the criticism in the other games has also been justified. Again, I'm talking about coming from balanced people. People like myself that just on Friday was lambasted for saying the manager's made all these mistakes, but the players have also need to be clinical, need to take our chances. Maybe one of the biggest criticisms I'd put on us in that first half is Bruno not putting the ball through to Ahmad to make it 3-0. I get why he was trying to feed in Šeško, but he shouldn't have done it, really. He should have played in Ahmad, go 3-0 up. But then Ahmad, again, in the City game, Ahmad should have put Mbeumo through on goal for a one-on-one, overhits the pass by a country mile, goes out for a throw. Ahmad should have tapped the ball in, open goal, kill the game off against Burnley. Didn't do it. Missed his chance as an example. Fulham game, Ahmad not attacking his fullback for the entirety of the game. At the opportunity, open goal, keeper's out of his position, square it to Šeško, taps it in, the 007 bullshit goes, the game's killed off, doesn't do it. Criticize that. And the reason why I'm calling that out is because as fans, we've lacked balance a lot of us have lacked balance in our criticism over the opening 5 games. It's either all the manager or there's no criticism. And I sit there and think, where's the balance gone? You know, so for me, I was very, very happy with the win. Very, very happy with large parts of the performance. There are areas I would nitpick and speak on, because I believe in you can criticize things when you win and you can praise some things when you lose and everything else in between. And I think we should be advocating for that balance. But I think overall, I was annoyed that United didn't really get any sort of praise. The fact we forced those mistakes. It wasn't as though there was a sending off because Caicedo got angry and punched someone. The red card happened because of our play. And if it was the other way around, it would have been all about how we got dragged out of position, how we weren't prepared, how the three at the back system let them down again. You know, it's that would have been the case, and there was none of that. And this is where United fans have got to realize, like, drop your agendas for a moment and protect your football club at times. Just at times, blindly, yes, just back your football club. At times, go, actually, I am a Man United fan. I am a supporter. It's in the job description. The media's been a bit disrespectful here. Back in my club, we won. Get behind everybody. Even if you can, I'm sorry, Staffy, if you're watching, that does mean sometimes you objectively back your club. I don't agree with everything we're doing at the minute, but I am a United fan, and I'm going to stand with United, not with my rivals. For a moment, please. It'd be very, very nice to see that from our fan base, because I do think it's crazy. Terry, why are you sticking it to Ahmad? Not just Ahmad. I'm using Ahmad as an example of someone who hasn't been great this season.
Because he started off poor. Let's be honest. You know, like we all love Ahmad. I love Ahmad. No, I know Terry loves Ahmad, so he's not saying this out of an agenda. He hasn't been up to standard, like his standard that he set, especially last season. I think Mbeumo, as much as he's been a bright spark, has at times where in attack he's let us down with a poor pass or poor shot. Like, he should have scored like 2 goals against flipping Burnley, but he missed his chances. Like, everyone has a part to play in why we're not as good as we are, and highlighting that isn't a bad thing. You know, like just saying that our favorite players are good play, even our good players aren't playing well. That's fine, because it's easy to go at people like Bayern. Listen, I don't like Bayern there. I despise Bayern there, but I can't go at him at every game, because not every game he does a mistake. You know what I mean? Like, actually, no, he does, but not every game is his fault. You know, not every game is Luke Shaw's fault. Not every game is, you know what I'm saying? So you have to balance it out.
Totally agree. And as Rob here said, United need to enjoy these moments. What's the point of football if you can't? It doesn't mean everything is sorted. But this is just it. And this is why I'm calling out the overly positive people and the overly negative people. You win. Your first thought shouldn't be, I'm going to attack the people that rightfully criticize this. Equally, if you're a negative person, my message to you is, no one is saying we're fixed. Maybe Staffy is. No one's saying we're fixed because we played some nice football and won a game. But we can enjoy the moment. That's why I've got a new series now on the Terrace. It's called Killing the Game. These attitudes towards football kill football. and I'm pushing back against it. Very happy we won. As David says here a bit earlier, though, as positive as we are trying to be, the lifeline that I agree is that lifeline that I agree we earned against Chelsea was still a lifeline. Nevertheless, the real test is Brentford, then Sunderland. I agree with you. I think we have to look at this as 6. We have to fight our backsides off for 6 points, get that, and then see where the land lies. I mean, I think if we win our next 2 games, there's a possibility we go into the next international break sitting somewhere inside the top 6.
Yeah.
More importantly than that, the game after that is Liverpool, which is very likely to be a loss. And my view is you beat Brentford well, you beat Sunderland well. A respectable defeat against Liverpool, which may happen, doesn't go down as badly as if we lose to Brentford and lose to Sunderland. It's very different. By the way, I want to beat Liverpool. I'm not using the whole free hit thing, but it's never. I always find in football, it's never just one result. It's the accumulation. A lot of people didn't completely lose their mind with Ten Hag after the 7-0 because we'd actually been on a really good 6-month period and just won a trophy. There was frustration and anger, but it would have been very different if we'd have been on a mad losing streak and then lost 7-0, because it's often the accumulation of these things. And then there is a result that is the kind of straw that broke the camel's back. And look, it's been reported that Sir Jim is going to be around the training ground for the next week. He's going to be very, very close to things, which I think is important to be there as well. The Old Trafford media also said Brentford and Sunderland is a must-win for Amorim if he cares about his job. Well, he clearly cares about his job.
Is that Brentford away?
Brentford away, yes.
Brentford away. So we went
tough
there.
Tough game.
We've not had a good time at Brentford away in some time. Got slapped.
No, I agree. I want to have a little bit of a transition, but on the same game. Can I ask you guys a question as well? Because this hasn't been discussed, and I think it's right to talk about it. Arteta yesterday was called out for being a coward. Was Enzo Fernandez a coward for taking off his attackers in the 4th minute and going uber defensive straight away?
Yes, he bottled it. He absolutely bottled it. He got shook. Like the Palmer one, I won't get onto him for the Palmer
Enzo Maresca, by the way. I think I might have said Enzo Fernandez. Enzo Maresca.
Well, he was a coward too. Screw it. All of them were cowards. But no, he did. Like the Palmer one, I won't get onto him too much because at the end of the day, he was picking up an injury. He was feeling something in his groin, and with like Jamie mentioned, with those weather conditions, with the pitch being so waterlogged at that point, you can't risk your player pulling up and getting an injury. Your best player at that. So I get him taking off Palmer, but taking off Pedro Neto and Esteval, it just screamed panic. It just screamed, I don't want to lose here, because let's be honest. We're not the Man United of old. We're not like, if we get down, if we face 10 men, we're just going to blitz you because we've got so much quality. We're not the same Man United. There's still a chance to get at us, even with 10 men. Like we saw that against Lyon. So the fact that he didn't keep his nerve, keep his calm, and be like, right, let me take one attacker off for the goalkeeper, and let's keep some kind of structure where we have like 4-4-1 or 4-3-2, whatever you want to call it. Like he didn't do that, because next thing you know, Casemiro gets sent off. It's 10v10, and now all of your attackers are off the pitch, except from João Pedro. And now you got to wonder how am I supposed to get a goal go now? So he did bottle it. I believe he bottled it. And I know some Chelsea fans are trying to defend him, like, oh, but if you took off him and who you can take? No, he didn't need to take off both attackers. He could have kept one on, see where the game lies, get a bit of structure, and then you analyze at like half time or maybe 60 minutes in. He did it way too early. Way too early.
I think maybe he did try to change the formation. I think taking the 2 of them off just nullified them going forward, so they couldn't really get out. And I think that gave United a little bit more confidence then to obviously press on, and they obviously were able to get their 2 goals. I think I was more his mannerisms on the sideline. You could see him getting over flustered, which I think was a bit weird. I've never seen a manager react in that specific way. And then obviously with the substitutions then as well. So I think that's something that I think with Maresca, and I think even from Chelsea fans' perspective, they respect obviously what he's done, but he's not a manager that they can kind of see there's a long-term plan with him there. Now, maybe obviously the owners have some different plans. But I think like long term, they don't see him as a Chelsea manager. And I think at the first sign of problems, the likelihood is they will turn against him. That's my opinion. But I think Chelsea, like the kind of base of a team is there. But I think if you go back to it, like I know Carragher was saying they spent $2 billion, but they still don't have a good goalkeeper. But I think most Chelsea fans would agree with that as well. They haven't been able to bring in a goalkeeper, and that's something that they've always and kept on talking about that they need to bring in. Like Donnarumma going to Man City for 25 million. Like years gone by, Chelsea would have plucked him straight away and brought him into the club. Do you know what I mean? But now, because he's a little bit older on bigger wages, they don't want him. And even with the Mike Maignan signing, they said he was asking for too much, so they didn't get him, and they just stuck with Sanchez. And like, if you have a better goalkeeper in, maybe that doesn't happen. Yesterday, they go on and win that game. I think it's a lot of if, buts, and maybes. But I think, yeah, they need a better goalkeeper. I think with Maresca, I just think like the way he acted after went down to 10 men was probably more of an issue than the signings or the substitutions themselves.
David here says he panicked big time. He says apparently he knew Palmer was injured. He says, remember when Arteta played Saliba injured? Where's the same energy? And that is what I would also say. I'm not someone that's dunked on Enzo regularly. I think I praised him for the back end of the season and the turnaround, winning 2 trophies, and he deserves that. But this weekend was another reminder that people don't do fair analysis, because and we can give examples of this, whether it be Ole Gunnar Solskjaer when he was playing Rashford with some knocks and Martial. Every time Arteta plays someone that's got a bruise, there is widespread condemnation, but there's barely been anything said. Again, the focus was all on, well, is this enough for United? Is it enough for There's no praise for United. It was still just, well, they're still crap, and everything else. But yet, zero criticism, really. Maybe in the Chelsea field there has been, but I'm talking about the wider levels. The energy's got to be the same. And look, hindsight's lucrative. He felt something. The groin weren't right. He played him. When you consider the talent they have, it was a risk to play him. It was a risk that backfired. And if you end up now missing the next couple of games, that could be problematic for Chelsea. Although they've got fairly winnable games, I think, in their next 2 matches. But yeah, it was a massive panic. This comment here. We'll get to that in a moment. That's about a different team. Said it before and said it so often. Reiterate it, Terry. Objectivity and balance around football analysis is not as common as it should be. It's the hot takes that unfortunately get traction. I agree. I agree. And that's why I'm not saying anyone should overreact with the Enzo Maresca criticism. It's not like, do you know what, that's enough. Dead manager, dead food, sack him. But I do think he made some mistakes, but I also think they were forced. I think he looked at how United started and thought, they're already blowing us away. I've got to make a change anyway. I need to do something to stop them from being able to open us up. And he panicked. He made a move too early. I know he couldn't anticipate Casemiro getting sent off, but sometimes you should hold back. Sometimes you shouldn't make some decisions you should hold back from making, and you should procrastinate a little over. You should see how the land lies. You should see how Man United try and play, because the game wasn't lost at that point. It wasn't as though they conceded a penalty and were 1-0 down straight away. It was still 0-0. You could have still sat in, and look, he already knew Palmer. This is the thing, he already knew Palmer had a knock. So if you know Palmer's got a knock and you're going to take an attacker off, take Palmer off and leave Neto on. Those things, but again, he panicked. And David writing his previous comment, he panicked because of the way Man United started the game. And, oh my God, they're ripping us apart. And that's where, again, he is a young fledgling manager and he's got to learn from that. And as he gets older and more experienced, maybe he wouldn't do that again. But even older managers do it. I remember United versus Madrid in the Champions League. We had a man sent off, and I love Sir Alex. But I remember he got the crowd up, where Jose went, oh, I can see a hole here now. This man's gone. That was where it was the other way, where he should have been thinking more about the tactical side than trying to get the atmosphere up, where Jose just sort of said, oh, I can see a way of beating them now. And I think he brought Luka Modric on, I think, is the player who came on from the bench, and it just gave him the extra body and control in midfield that was needed. Maybe we should have been thinking more about that. And look, you live and die by your decisions, and Maresca got a lot wrong at the weekend and should rightfully be criticised for it. There's no doubt. Lou, good morning to you. Hope you're good. Yes, and they are always nicer. Monday mornings are always nicer when you win at the weekend. There is no doubt about that whatsoever. It's always much, much nicer. This here says, in fact, take it as a compliment because they'd never talk about this much about something that wasn't a concern about or considered small in the first place. Oh, look, Man United, we know Man United are not small. We could get, if we get, this is what I don't ever want to get relegated, but I think Man United in the Championship still get more newspaper coverage than 95% of all the other Premier League teams combined. So, yeah, we know what we are. We know what we are. Bruno says it's like a yo-yo when it comes to opinions. There is no balance if you're amazing or you're you're a load of horse poo. No, I agree, and there is a lack of balance, and then people want to be right. And we saw this with. We'll get onto the Arsenal game in a bit, but obviously it's a little bit jovial. But some people take it seriously. Don and Staffy, I know that every time Donnarumma does something slightly small, are going to be there. You go, Terry. That's why we told you he wasn't very good. Where I look at it, and they're being jestful with it, and I know it's a joke, I know it's banter, but there are people that actually analyze football that way now. So a goalie can be perfect for 10 games, make a slight mistake, and it's a told you it wasn't brilliant. My view is, well, the fact it's a mistake every 10 or every 20 games is why he's brilliant, because mistakes are natural for athletes. But we live in this world now where everything's about the nth degree, everything is about the anomaly and not the general rule. And life shouldn't be lived like that. And I'll always push back against it. I don't think you should be making snapshot decisions. It's a bit like saying, I had a friend who was in a car crash and they weren't badly hurt, but the seatbelt jammed. They couldn't get out and then they died because they burnt to death. It's like saying, I'm never wearing a seatbelt now in case it happens to me. That's less likely than all the other ramifications of not wearing a seatbelt. But some people actually, that sounds horrible. Some people's brains are not wired right. And a lot of it, I think, is the dopamine chase online and the thrill of getting attention. I think that's probably what, it's realigned the way people think. But that's how I view a lot of football analysis. I'm going to go to the extremity. It's not for me personally. It's not for me. And it's become a bit boring, if I'm honest. I no longer dream of a team of Carragher's after that Arsenal City game. And the Arsenal City game was one of the most interesting elements of the season.
Great game. I thought it was a great game.
I loved it. I absolutely loved it. Ola here says the performance yesterday showed Sir Jim Ratcliffe is right to demand top 4 finish this season, and Amorim should be given the whole season.
I don't know if he's being serious or not.
He's a Liverpool fan, so I know he's not being serious. I know Ola very, very well. He's been here for years.
What it does show is you people complaining. I've seen people complain that Sir Jim's actually at the training ground speaking to Ruben. I've seen it. People are unhappy with it, saying he's just put out of it, stay away. For years, we had complaints and anger and frustration that the Glazers would never turn up to Old Trafford or the training ground or know what's going on at the club.
Yeah.
But now we've got owners like, right, something's going wrong. Let's get in it. Let's get in there and let's see if we can sort it out. It's, oh, what are you doing, Jim? Go away.
And this is what I mean by the polarization. It's about whether they like the owners or not. Now, if I guarantee you the same people moaning that Sir Jim is there, if we'd have got the Qatari takeover, which just for the record was my preference and what I wanted the most, those same people, if they were happy that the Qataris were here, would be like, well, of course they're here. It's their club. Why shouldn't they be here? I find that a lot of people that live in these polarized extremities, they have no moral compass. They have no ethics. It's all just, I'm going to bend at the will of the situation to back what I like without having any ethics to it, in the sense of, and guys, just screenshot people and save their accounts. People that you see say performance analysis is irrelevant. It's all about winning. A lot of United fans that will say that is because they don't like Ruben Amorim. And they don't want to hear any praise for him, or they don't want to hear anything they perceive as an excuse, like we missed 4 big chances in the game and would have won if we'd have taken at least one of them or 2 of them. Don't care. Manager's crap. Those same very fans, if they get a coach they like, Jose comes back, Simeone comes in, Ollie's comes back. Who else do people like out there at the minute? Areola comes in. Those same very people, if we lose a game but miss 4 big chances, will go, Jose coached to win, Areola coached to win. They won't stick to their principle. They will bend it. And how do I know this? Because I've been in this game too long. I've seen what people do. And I think for me, that's what's been frustrating this last few weeks, not just with United, with all clubs. We saw it yesterday with Pep being praised. And I don't know which pundit said it, because Arsenal said they dominated the game. And the pundit, no, he didn't dominate the game. I consider dominating the game the team that had the best chances and created the most. Same very pundits, when other teams have been pragmatic against Pep, they're like, that isn't football, is it? It's all about, and that's the problem that football fans have, is that, hang on a minute, you praise one team for being pragmatic, and then you criticize another for being too negative and not trying to win. Which is it? And that's the lack of balance that I think winds the majority of football fans up in the modern day game, to be fair. But maybe that's me. Maybe that is me. Viewers, do me a favor, please, and hit that like button, and make sure you are subscribing to the show if you haven't done so already. I mean, on to the game yesterday, as we've kind of segued into it already. Jamie, you enjoyed the game yesterday.
Yeah, I thought it was a really enjoyable game. I think, listen, if it's interesting, obviously, I think with the narrative around, obviously, Pep Guardiola setting up defensively, and I think we'll maybe talk about the narrative, how it's different. I think it's different for the reason that right now, I think Guardiola knows that he doesn't have the players to play that. And he said that in his post-match, saying that he can't play against a team like Arsenal that are better on the front foot than they are right now, because he doesn't have the players. I think admitting that is important. And also the fact that he's won 6 leagues, a Champions League, and numerous amount of trophies. He has that kind of behind him to say, like, I can play a different way. I think with Arteta and my kind of, you know, I really like this Arsenal team. And I think the reason I really like them is I think they have a lot about them in terms of creatively. I think they have a lot going forward. Defensively, I think they're one of, if not the best team in the world. I think if you look at their midfield now of Zubimendi, Rice, Odegaard, Eze, whoever it is, there's a lot of good things about them. I think the disappointing thing for me is that he doesn't want to lose those big games. I think this is something Arsenal fans, I think yesterday not starting Eze is something that I think a lot of them are talking about now and saying like how they are disappointed. Because I understand the narrative when you're playing Liverpool away and you're saying, obviously, if you go to Liverpool away and you set up to be open, to the crowd and get onto you, and you can lose that game 3 or 4 because it's just the way the game could go. But you're at home against a weakened Arsenal team. He probably has the best Arsenal team, weakened Man City team. He probably has the best Arsenal team he's ever had right now in terms of like actual squad. Yeah. And he's probably playing against the weakest Man City team. I think they were saying that on AFTV as well. The weakest Man City team that he's ever probably faced. And he's just gone and dominated them in terms of possession. But they didn't really create that much. And I think once you seen when Eze and Martinelli both came on, they looked a lot better going forward and they were creating a little bit more. They were moving the ball a lot quicker into the forward areas. And I think that's the disappointing thing. If he had taken the game to Man City in the first half, I think he would have created a lot more and potentially would have went ahead, and the whole kind of like the weight that was on them to try and get back into the game wouldn't have been there. Yeah. And I think that's my disappointing thing, because I think there's a lot more about this Arsenal team than what we're seeing right now, especially going forward. I think we kind of say creatively they're not as good as what they were maybe 2 or 3 years ago, but I think that's because of how he's changed in terms of his philosophy when it actually comes to managing risk and reward. Because now he knows that they're solid defensively, but he doesn't want to lose that, and he doesn't want to compromise on any of that in the fact that he could potentially lose a game. And I think that might be his undoing, because you go back to all the best teams that have played, they all have risk takers. And I don't think starting Eze is a risk. I just think that's like being brave and just like wanting to obviously like have players in the game that can win a match. But I just think Arteta right now he's just kind of leaning a little bit more on the fence than he is like having the character to go out and show that like he can impose himself in the game and go out and actually win the game. And I think he's done that now against, like, he's picked up 1 point against Man City and Arsenal. And no, obviously Liverpool was away, or Man City and Liverpool was away. But yeah, I'm disappointed with this Arsenal team, because I do think there's a lot more about them than what we've seen, especially going forward. Like, they're going to be solid defensively because of the players that they have. Do you know what I mean? But just give them the freedom to go out and get that. Even Gyökeres, you think about Gyökeres, some of the criticism he's getting, they're not giving him any chances. Do you know what I mean? They're not giving him the opportunities.
Oh, mate, it annoyed me so much yesterday seeing that. There was Noni Madueke shoots at the near post when he's free in the middle. There's another chance about 60 minutes in where Trossard puts the ball across, he's free in the middle. There was another time where I think it was Timber was played in by Saka in the second half, and he makes he runs to the far post and then cuts back into the front post, gets ahead of Diaz, but Timber can't get the ball into him. And it's this element of he did his job. That is where he's absolutely dangerous, but he's got to have the ball fed into him there. The ball has got to be played into him in that moment. And you look at Haaland yesterday, a very different type of goal on the counter, and he was involved in the build-up. But if the pass from Reinders is overhit or doesn't come, he doesn't score that goal. Strikers typically need service. And I would say that in the Man United game, in the Liverpool game, and now in the City game, Arsenal haven't created one single chance for him. And that, for me, a lot of people will criticize the player for that, but I think it is unbalanced and completely disingenuous to the fact that I've seen him in the right places. I've seen him make the right runs. I've seen him try, and even if the ball's hard at times, we'll play the pass to stretch the defenders. Let's see what happened. That surely has got to be the attitude. And sometimes it's risk averse from Arsenal. And I agree with a lot of the comments. The starting lineup was wrong, but equally, the players have got. There's times I thought Noni was doing okay in terms of he was running at the fullbacks. Sometimes what Arsenal have got to do is get an early ball into the box. Just get a cross in before taking 2, 3, 4, 5 touches. Get it in early, and strikers like Gyökeres, strikers like Haaland will gobble up those opportunities. They're not done that well enough. But people like trying to. I've seen people like on socials. I knew he'd be a flat track bully, etc. It's just such disingenuous punditry for me personally.
I think the issue was with the Gyökeres thing is he's done as a striker. He's done his thing in terms of being in the right spot. He's not getting fed, but it's what he's doing when he does get a chance to be on the ball. I do feel for him in terms of chance creation, but he looks sluggish right now because when he was on the ball, there's a lot of loose touches, a lot of loose dribbles, he was losing the ball outside of the box. And I think that's where people are, again, they have a chance to be balanced and say he's playing poorly with the ball, but to be fair, when he's in the position where he should be, he's not getting fed. But again, people aren't able to do that. They just focus on one aspect of his game and not the other. So I think that's where the issue is with the whole Gyökeres thing is, especially in big games, he's not getting the ball where he needs to be, and when he does get the ball in other areas, his faults are showing. You know what I mean? He's not a drop-in striker. He's not an Ekitike. He's not an Isaac. You know, he's not like a Watkins who are able to drop in and like hold up the ball really easily, have some silky touches, and play something in. He's more traditional, and Arsenal Arteta needs to get used to being more traditional in that sense. How do we get the ball to him? Not how do we get the ball into zone Z so we can do X, Y, and Z. Like, no, how do we get the ball to Gyökeres? That's the main thing, and that's why someone like Eze not starting in these games is a problem, because you've got 3 DMs in the midfield. I know Rice is talented. I know Zubimendi is talented. Moreno had an awful game. Terrible game yesterday, in my opinion. But who out of those 3 really and truly is constantly going to feed that guy the ball? Those 3 aren't going to do that all the time because they've got to worry about defending as well. They've got to worry about maintaining possession and keep the thing ticking. They had no one really in that team, barring, I would say, Noni Madueke, who's trying to get the crosses in, whose first thought is, where's the striker and how do I get it to him? And that's where Arteta went wrong. Like, if you're gonna have Gyökeres in his big games, you're gonna need someone who complements him in those games with him. And for me, that's Eze, that's an Odegaard, that's someone Nyeri.
Yeah.
So yeah.
This comment here says draws killed Arsenal last season. They won this game 5-1 last season. Is there really any progress? City don't look any better than last season. The difference is this: City didn't try and attack overly in the game. They tried to counter with a bit of a mid-block, as people would refer to it, and they sat back very deep in the second half. Last season, City just kept on trying to play the typical Pep brand. If he'd have done that, Arsenal would have picked them apart yesterday. I was actually really surprised to see what Pep Guardiola did. So this is the one thing I'm not sure. I assume I can't quite see your Avi there.
He's a Liverpool fan. He's got a Champions League.
Liverpool. Okay, fair enough. But I think you have to factor in that element to the game. Have Arsenal improved? I think they do look a better team this season than last year. However, City approached the game very, very differently. And that's the great thing about football, is that you can get better, but Other people can change. Other teams can get better. City in the last 2 matches. It's interesting. If you go back and look at the Brighton game, go back and look at the Spurs game. Slightly different approach. The last couple of matches in the Prem, City have become. I actually find it. There's a beautiful irony in all of this. Is that City have sort of become everything that for 8 years the Rodri's called out, the Pep's called out and moaned about, the fans would bleat on about. We used to have City fans come on our shows and like clap and praise teams that opened up and attacked them, but they lost 5-0 to, saying like, you lost 5-0, but it was the right way to play. And they'd come on and do their nut over anyone who parked the bus for more than a couple of minutes, who time wasted. I almost love the fact there's something amazing about the fact that is what they're becoming. I think it's brilliant from Pep, and I'm praising what he's doing. I'm just calling out the rank hypocrisy that people had. And again, it was poor analysis at the time. I get City fans doing it, but it was the analysis of the media of but Pep does it the right way. Oh, this is boring football. This is bad football. This is anti-football. This is ugly football to bring into the game. And all those horrible things that were said about the more pragmatic managers and teams for an 8-year period, only for those same pundits and same fans and same sort of the other people that bash one out over the technical side of things and the eye test merchants, only for them to now say, well, football's not about possession and tiki-taka football and how it looks. It's about getting results, and it's about doing what's necessary to win, and that's the most important thing. It's the beauty is watching these people's brains melt and watching them have to change, like go back against their own philosophy of the last 8 years. I absolutely love that element of yesterday. Just watching it play out in real time was an absolute thing of beauty for me. I absolutely love seeing it. But I think Pep was right to do it. He's absolutely right to do it. Will he continue? Let's see. Maybe he will, maybe he won't.
I think he said in post match that he's gonna try and go back to like what he does best in terms of like taking. He said that's not how we want to play.
Yeah.
So he just wanted to adapt, and I think this is something that we've talked a lot about it in terms of being adaptable as a manager is important. And I think, yeah, I agree with you in terms of like years gone by they would have criticized teams for like sitting in a low block, but I think nowadays you need to be able to adapt to like what is being put in front of you. And if he had went out and just got hammered, then he would have got criticized for playing that way as well. Do you know what I mean? So like he wants to go out and try and get a result, and he almost did. And yeah, I just think I think the criticism that comes with it is probably more on Arteta, because I feel like when you're someone that can go out and win the game and play in a certain way to go out and win the game. And I think that's why I'd say most Arsenal fans, if they're looking back on the day, are frustrated because they feel like that's Man City team. They could have beaten them. I think that's probably the frustration, that they're probably looking at it from an Arteta perspective. But yeah, I think it's like Man City are kind of just a team that are nowhere near what they used to be. And he has to kind of adapt to obviously get results now, which is probably a bitter pill for him to swallow right now as well.
Yeah, and obviously when challenged for the title, I think I tell you, correct me if I'm wrong. Did Fergie say this in terms of you go away to your rivals and get a draw, and then you beat them at home, or is that just a general?
No, I think that's certainly it's certainly something that Sir Alex Ferguson again. Times change slightly and everything else, but his view was, if I can get a draw at my title rivals, if I can get a draw away from home against them and beat them at home, he always felt that he kind of knew what he was going to get by and large against the other 16, 17 teams in the season because of how confident he was in his side. So a lot of the times in Fergie's era, the team that won the league was nearly always the team that had the best. If you create that mini league of the top four title contenders, typically the team that were winning that were often winning the league. And to win that, his view was win all the home games and draw. And if you can get a draw minimum in the away games, you should be okay. So that was kind of his sort of approach to it in terms of, because sometimes it's about balancing the result in terms of how it impacts you, because not all draws are bad draws. Sometimes you come from behind. Sometimes you're in a really it's a really hard game. Because I think Liverpool, if they'd have walked away with a draw from the Newcastle game, wouldn't have felt overly disappointed with the performance. The fact that Newcastle were the better side, the fact that it was 2-2 at that stage of the game, I thought Liverpool were quite fortunate because Newcastle were better. Then to go and get a win, it was like a bonus. But most Liverpool fans after that game would have said, considering how we played, to have picked up a draw is a good result. So, but I think you have to sometimes have these conversations internally as a football team, the same as a business do. You have business meetings. Well, how are we doing? How are things going? Let's contextualize things. Let's think about this. And I think it's important to do that. Otherwise, you can sometimes get caught up in the results, can impact the next one. It's a very important thing to manage in that regard. Maradon here says, was a comment gone? It says, you were also asking if Pep was finished. Don't forget yourself. Yeah, we had conversations about it. We absolutely did. And I haven't forgotten that, which is why I'm praising him for adapting. Mm-hmm. The biggest criticism I had when asking if he was finished is I was challenging whether or not he could adapt, whether he could change, because he doesn't have the best squad anymore. Things aren't going the way he wants. Can he do something different? He's proving only in a very small sample size so far that he can. So I'm praising it, because what I'm not going to do is just I'm not going to do what certain people do, Maradon, not to name drop people like Maradon. But what I'm not going to do is then just twist the narrative and say, well, he hasn't really, he's adapted, but he's gone against his philosophy. So therefore, I think he's a bad manager. This is what you have to do at times. So, I ask questions because that's part of running podcasts, but I'm consistent. Thanks for confirming that to everybody, Maradon. Appreciate it, bro.
The interesting thing I think it will be is obviously he doesn't want to play that way, but what you notice, even if you go back to like say the game against Brighton, that when they do play on the front foot and teams that are maybe not at that level, but like they have that kind of high intensity and kind of can get into them, they do get turned over pretty quickly. Like, will he be a little bit more on the fence against those types of teams? That will be interesting to watch to see how he develops in that way. But like I think I said at the start of the season, I don't think this Man City team are anywhere near good enough to compete over the course of a 38 game season. I actually was impressed with Nico O'Reilly. I think he deserves a big credit. I think he's better than Aït-Nouri, if I'm being honest. I think defensively he's a lot more solid, and he does offer a little bit more going forward. I know Aït-Nouri is obviously maybe a bit more veteran in the Premier League, but Kusanov at right back as well, I thought he did better, because I think Rico Lewis and Nunez just aren't at that level. And then Donnarumma obviously in goal. So they have fixed those types of issues. Guardiola, if he can stay fit at centre back, they have maybe helped themselves a little bit, but I just don't think overall that they're at the level to win a league this season.
Just some breaking news regarding Arsenal, which we're on that subject. And Noni Madueke is due to undergo a scan today with a fear of an ACL injury after he was forced off with discomfort in his knee at halftime against Manchester City. So there were a few rumours that he came off injured, because a lot of people, including myself, criticised him coming off. I thought we should have gone onto the left. But we did say during the match reaction show that if the rumours of an injury were true, then obviously you take back the criticism of Arteta for removing him, because you learn the facts. But yeah, look, I've got to hope, no players getting ACLs. It looks a fairly innocuous one, because I don't remember him taking a bad tackle.
It might be one maybe when he was spinning out defender, because he had a few of them. So maybe it was that, but hopefully he's okay.
Yeah, fingers crossed. It's but it's, I mean, typically you don't get sent for a scan. They're very good. Again, the way the knee hurts, unfortunately, it'd be really unfortunate for him, considering how well he started the season. And it's really funny when you praise Noni Madueke, because people are like, but you ain't nowhere near Saka's level. It's like, I know, he's a £48 million player. Saka's a £120 million player. Why would the expectations ever be the same? That's one of those weird things we've created in the modern day game, that obviously backup players are far more expensive than they were 10, 20, 30, 40 years ago. But this kind of idea that we got to expect the same from him as you do Saka. Why?
Yeah, Arsenal players pick up a lot of injuries, don't they? I
was thinking.
Saka, Odegaard, Havertz, Jesus, Noni Madueke, and like some of them have bad injuries. Do you know what I mean? Like they have picked up a lot.
I'm waiting for the Arteta outers to be like
Saliba as well.
Saliba as well. Our players again. I'm looking forward to it. I know it's coming. If this turns out to be an ACL, they'll somehow find a way to flip it on.
They'll find a way of blaming. Yeah, I mean,
I don't think you can blame it now. I don't think you can blame it this season. Like, I think they spent 250 million to build out their squad, and now they're saying this season we have a squad to compete. So I don't think that's an excuse this season. If you're maybe saying it was last season,
I'm just saying Arteta outers will just find a way to blame him.
Well, yeah. Of course they will.
Yeah.
I mean,
fair.
Some people are saying that the knee hyperextended. I mean, again, nothing you can do. Odegaard fell in a challenge and done his shoulder. Again, nothing, not on his fault. Jesus' knee went when he landed innocuously, as an example. That's the issue with, again, that's where the conversations become crazy. Then what you'll get, yeah, but he plays people when they've got knocks, and that's unacceptable. All managers do this. Again, how do I know all managers do this? Because all athletes, not even fucking all managers, athletes just tell you. Barely, I think there's something like, they've done studies on this, surveys on this. Something like 95% of all athletes play with some type of knock or sort of a longer standing injury that needs fixing. So yeah, it's a crazy one for me. 1 sec, people. Be 2 seconds. Go on, carry.
Okay. Well, since Terry's gone, and I think we've exhausted the Arsenal conversation. Liverpool 5-5, 2-0 again, 2-0 up again. Conceded a goal. He didn't need a last minute winner this time. He had a 27th minute winner this time, whatever, however early that was. Jamie, tell us what you're thinking. Liverpool 5-5. Do you think this is just now setting you guys up to do what you guys have been doing and win the league?
I think it's interesting. I think the game against Everton, we played a little bit better. I think in the second half, yes, obviously we conceded a goal, but I don't think they created too many chances. We looked pretty comfortable, I thought. Grealish was probably their only outlet. But yeah, I think the interesting part will be for Liverpool, that's probably defensively maybe what they're trying to figure out right now. Yeah. But they have the most important thing is that they can score goals. And Arsenal are trying to figure out that side, I think, especially maybe in the games that are a little bit more difficult to break teams down in. I think that's going to be maybe what decides it, because I think defensively Arsenal are just so good, and it's kind of like the opposite end of the pitch they're trying to figure out more than anything else. But I think, yeah, I just think Liverpool right now, and I keep on saying it, like they're going to score so many goals that even if you want to win against them, you're going to have to score 2. Like they're never going to score less than 1. Do you know what I mean? So that's going to be the big difference. And that means that throughout the entire season, they're going to be consistently picking up points, just chipping away, getting more and more. Do you know what I mean? They're not going to lose many games, if any, in most competitions. So yeah, I'm happy. Obviously, 5 games, 5 wins, you can't complain. Like, people keep on talking about like performances, but for me, I'm like, what? Like if you peak really early in the season, that means you have to keep that level consistently until the end of the season. It's just not going to happen, and you're going to dip. So like, why not want to be at like the best level that you can be when you're coming towards like maybe the business end of the season, especially Champions League knockout games and like maybe into the run-in. Like Liverpool, if you think about it last season, their performances did drop, especially like if you think about Champions League against PSG away, they weren't at the level even though they got the result. And PSG definitely had their chances in the home game. I thought Liverpool were better that game, but even going towards the second half of the season, our performances dipped a little bit. It was just that we had no one else competing with us to kind of put us under pressure. Do you know what I mean? So I think performances, I want that at the end of the season. Right now, we just want results. I think that's the most important thing. Like you as United fans would know, you just want results now, get a little bit of momentum, and then maybe when it starts to really matter, that's when you want to see the performances because it shows that you are moving in the right direction. But yeah. I'm 5 wins, 5 games, 5 wins. I can't complain.
What did you make of the... Sorry. What did you make of the complaints about only 3 minutes of time added on happening? Because I mean, Moyes spoke about it, Rivals spoke about it, the media speaking about it, saying it was a disgrace. What's your take on that, Jamie?
Listen, I think 3 minutes was a bit low. What they were looking after? It was 6 substitutions. Obviously, I think someone was down injured. I can't remember who it was. But yeah, I think 3 minutes was a little bit low. But to be fair, David Moyes, what he said was like sometimes you don't really get maybe some decisions at Anfield. But I think that's for the refs to decide. But yeah, I think maybe 3 minutes was definitely a little bit low. If I'm being honest, I think maybe more to 5 or 6. But I still think if it had been 20 minutes, I don't think Everton would have scored. They didn't look that threatening, to be honest.
Yeah, I think people are saying, "Oh, but Liverpool were under the caution and they only gave 3 minutes."
Yeah.
It wasn't that, but it was still so. I remember watching it and I thought a board going up. I was like, the amount of 5 minutes going. I saw 3. I was like, 3? When's the last time I've ever seen 3 minutes added time and at the end of the game? Because normally they've been this season, especially, there's been throwing out 7, 6. Like it's been the common thing. So it was weird, but at the same time, people using that as a stick to beat Liverpool with is silly. Like the 3 minutes is not why Liverpool won or didn't.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They won because they were better on the day.
And the sixth thing for me was there was the goal, right? And they're meant to add about a minute for a goal, but they didn't celebrate. They run straight to the halfway line, which is fair. But even the subs thing, right? So yes, there was 6 substitutions, but 4 of them happened at the same time as each other. So you're in this situation where they're not adding on. They used to add on a minute. I think it was 30 seconds. They used to add. The thing is, you add on 30 seconds for every substitution. But when there was only 3 subs, typically you'd make 3 separate substitutions. So there's a minute and a half per team to add on. But when you're bringing on 2s, 3s, and 4s at the same time, that's just one 30-second block of time added on because it's all at the same time. So could there have been a minute or 2 more? Yes, there could have been. But at the same time, the way people are going on like it's a conspiracy, as if we're ignoring the fact that opening day of the season, the Bournemouth handball, you should have played against 10 men for the majority of the game. In the same fixture last year, Tarkowski should have gone off for a red card tackle and didn't. I just don't like the conspiracy theory angle that they're doing it to help Liverpool. It could be a mistake and it could be wrong, but the idea, I hate the conspiracy theory talk. It really annoys me.
It's fun to talk about. I'm not going to lie. Conspiracies are hella fun to talk about. It's great to talk about but in jest. But if we're being serious, we know what the problem is. The refs, the PGMOL, they suck. They're just bad for everybody. And that is the problem. Like people, it's funny talking about decisions. People were complaining about the Bruno Fernandes offside. Mo mentioned it. Some people mentioned it. The onside call. Oh, but the sleeve was shown. And if you look last week or a couple of weeks ago against Burnley, that same thing was called offside.
But you know what the issue with that is, KJ? People haven't clocked onto it. Is they're looking at the parts of the body that are over that line, and they're ignoring the most important part of the graphic. It's where there is a blue rings that are doing like a ripple effect. That's the part of the player that's, if it's given onside, the where you see those blue rings is the part of the opponent that's playing you on. When you're offside, they highlight the part that is, so forget what's over and behind the line. It's about the blue part. So as much as going, oh, look, the sleeve's over. Yes, but the foot is showing you that's further back than where the sleeve is. But it's like, again, the graphic isn't put together very well, maybe, and it isn't explained.
They don't go all the way to the side, like the side on. They have this weird.
Yeah, no, I agree, but it's
but like when you think about refs, like it's whoever's winning, the refs are on their side. Do you know what I mean? Like when it was United winning, it's United. Refs are being paid by United, and Liverpool are winning. Man City are winning. Do you know what I mean? Like the only reason Arsenal fans get out about it because they're never winning.
Yeah, no, it's just one of them. It's just one of them things to me. I think they should redo the graphic in that regard. Probably, but
you need to make it how UEFA does it with it does it and then it zooms right over to like an angle where it's in line with the line and you can see the players overlapping. This whole weird off to the side final shot and this is what I mean. Why in the Premier League we just have to make things more complicated and difficult than what's successful? Like VAR was successful in like Europe and in other sports. We bring it over here and make it complicated. Semi-automated offside, beautiful. Been working out in Europe, in UEFA, been using it. No one's got a problem with semi-automated offsides until the Premier League do it. Why do we have to be trying to be all different with all these things, man? Like, just do what works.
No, I agree. I think we just at the same time though, football brings out a difference in people. Like I've watched rugby in Ireland, in stadiums and in pubs with an England shirt on, and I'm in amongst Irish people, and it is absolutely fine. There's no problem. I couldn't do that with football. Even if it's the same people, the atmosphere is different. There's something about football that just brings a weird, I mean, obviously there's historical things there with England and Ireland, but it brings that, but the history of our nations is still there when we're playing rugby. It doesn't dissipate, but yet the attitude's different. Football brings something out in people, and I think conspiracy is part of it. But the PGMOL have actually released, when it comes to the offside, I just want to put this up on the screen for a moment, they've actually released the official lines that have come out. So again, the graphic is the interesting part. You can see when you put this up, Bruno's sleeve, which the line is drawn down from, is the red line. It is behind the foot, the toe there, as you can see, of Chalobah. In fact, the actual lines show that Šeško, who looks offside as well, because that was the other complaint, is actually also onside because of the foot of Chalobah, but the graphic isn't great. But I understand as well, though, this is one thing I say about the graphic. Improve the graphics, yes. But those graphics are essentially AI generated within a few seconds. And we've all used AI to like make funny pictures and stuff. There's always a little mistake. They're not like always 100% accurate because you're running a grainy, pixelated image through. If you notice with UEFA, their electronic images don't come up that quickly, do they? They come up a good 3 or 4 minutes later in the game when the next replay happens. Maybe that's what we've got to do, is give the decision. And this is how fickle we are as people. If we didn't show the automated offside instantly, like we kind of do, and we just said, no, it's onside, and then 2 minutes later in a break in the game, they put the graphic up and the graphic accurately shows it's onside or offside, everyone would go, oh, it's fair then. It's only because, again, it's the rush job. We're rushing to, we've got to get the image out quickly. There's slight mistakes on the image, although it's the right decision, and everybody's going into conspiracies. Get it right, even if it takes an extra cup. I always say this, get the things right, slow down, get it right, keep everybody calm. But yeah, it's still on the PGMOL because they control that element, and it's always so crap, isn't it? It's just always crap, always crap. But yeah, Liverpool, man, on you guys just look. What you said earlier, I think, so spot on. You guys worry me because you're nowhere near top gear. That rhymed. That you're nowhere near it. You're still winning your games. And I said this on the terrace. I've said this on my own personal channel. I am not for a single second allowing myself to be induced. I'm not allowing myself to be captivated by the Liverpool might fall off, Liverpool not playing that well, Liverpool going to be found out nonsense that some people are pushing. Fair play if other people want to live in that world. It might make you feel better in the short term. But when that denial kicks in, when you guys find full form and you barely lose a game this season, that shit's going to hurt. That stuff's, I'm preparing myself now. For me, I'd give you the trophy already just to get it out of the way. I'm saying, so I don't have to live it again. But yeah, you guys look tasty, and you're not even purring yet. That for me is the sobering fact of Liverpool. You're not purring. You're not purring.
It's just a bit coping, I'd say, if like you're looking at it and saying that they're going to fall off, because yeah, I think there's maybe some issues within. I think the team is just trying to figure each other out a little bit. I think if you even look at the midfield that's set up against Everton, I think there was probably more balance in that midfield than maybe when Wirtz is starting. Maybe we can talk a little bit about him as well. I think it'll be interesting to see what way Slot maybe figures out where his role in this team is, because I think it could be potentially fighting it out with Gakpo on the left wing and maybe cutting inside and then using Kirkhouse as an overlapper. That could be something that we could see, because I think the midfield three that you're trying to break up to fit or accommodate Wirtz right now is a midfield three that won the league. Do you know what I mean? And now I think there is probably we're probably jumping the gun a little bit too quickly with Wirtz and saying, oh well, he hasn't got a goal contribution, and some like Liverpool fans are probably saying on the other side, Liverpool fans are probably saying, oh, he's definitely looked really good in moments, and he has looked good in moments, but at the end of the day, like, you want to see him impacting the game at the top end of the pitch. Like, sometimes he's just not maybe taking a shot on quickly enough, or he's maybe trying to take that extra touch, and you just won't get that in the Premier League. Teams will just, they're going to be straight onto you. Do you know what I mean? And he just needs to move it a little bit quicker. I think probably, I'd say, even with Gyökeres and Wirtz, you probably look at it and say the physicality of the Premier League or the pace of the league is probably maybe taking them a little bit aback. But I do back him. I 100% back him to come good. It's just that this Liverpool team, as we said there, they haven't really got going yet. And when they do click into gear, because of all the quality that are there, it is kind of scary for the rest of the teams. But I think there was actually, Slot was asked during the week what he would rather win, was the Premier League or Champions League. And I think if he was being honest with himself, I think because he's won the Premier League now, he would say Champions League, but he was just like, I want both of them. So it'll be interesting to see. I think that's with the squad depth there now and how he manages everything, and when they do click, yeah, it's just like, as a Liverpool fan, I'm excited to see how they develop over the course of the season.
Yeah, people are getting onto Wirtz, and it's all banter, and it's one of those ones.
007.
Take it take your shots now because you may not get the chance to ever because he might just kick in the gear and stuff like that. But he's just adjusting to the league. Like it's clear to see that a lot of these players coming in from another league, unless you're physically just wired that way and your brain and your football ability just plays quick, it is an adjustment. You can tell man's used to a bit more space to operate in, a bit more time to use to take an extra touch and get the pass off and be amazing like we know he can be. But it just takes time to adjust. No, like I think when someone was talking about Sesko, I forgot who it was, but they basically said Thierry Henry didn't score in his first 8 games for Arsenal. And he went on to be one of the greatest players that we've ever seen in the Premier League. Now, I'm not saying Sesko or Wirtz or Gyökeres will be Henry levels, but if one of the greatest players we've seen took 8 games when he first came over here to get used to it, what about the players now?
Well, it's one of the reasons why a lot of people, even when there's good results, like I had a few people message me, Terry, I like your content, I like your uploads you do, I just can't watch panel shows anymore. And I've had a lot of messages like this. I'm like, oh, why? It's just the agendas. He said, even when it's like in support of my own club, I just find it so hard that everyone now is out there, agenda. Every conversation becomes an agenda as opposed to having an element of balance to it. And I agree. It's like Liverpool started brilliantly this season, 5 wins from 5, brilliant on a results level. There are some areas to criticize or critique, but it's this, we're going to talk about Wirtz. You just want to, I mean, for me, I'm not looking at a player that looks terrible in the sense of, oh my God, look at that bad first touch. He can't pass a ball. He ain't Bebe. Do you know what I'm saying? He's not. You can see the player in there. It's just taking him some time to adjust. I find the conversations premature, but the reason people want to have them is maybe because Gyökeres is being over criticized at the moment, or they remember the criticism that Anthony got, or this player got, or that guy got. And I just sort of feel it's a lot of football fans are becoming really bored of it. And I'm bored of it because it's a case of, well, what do you want to say then? What do you mean? Well, you want to criticize him? Yeah, well, I want you guys. There's a super chat earlier, and I respect Andrew because Andrew, he's long-term viewer of the Terrace. I was going to come back to this, but he says, are we calling out Gabriel and Saliba for mistakes or no? I mean, I don't really know what mistakes yesterday you're talking about. It was a wonderful bit of play that caught them out. Gabriel, it's not a mistake that Haaland is just that much faster than Gabriel. Saliba, if he cuts off the space to stop the pass, then Reinders can just run straight through on goal. He's between a rock and a hard place, right? As an example, stands his ground well actually and delays the pass to the last minute. But at the end of the day, it was very good play by Manchester City. They won the ball back high, very good ticky-tack. They've still got the technical ability, bang, 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 and they broke off. I wouldn't necessarily look at that as a mistake. But again, I know why you, Andrew, as a Liverpool fan, want that discussed, because you see Arsenal fans that if Van Dijk makes one mistake, they're on it. So I need to see it on them. And I just think that this tit for tat mentality, I've been saying it for a long time.
In the game.
It's killing the game. It's killing football. It's killing the YouTube game. People are bored of it. They're like, people go, I can't listen to this. Not because there isn't some truth in it. It's people, and it's become so bait now that everything's just about what can I say to shit on a rival, even if it's a massive exaggeration. And I think the masses, whether they're listening to Sky, listening to TalkSport, listening to the Football Terrace, listening to X, Y, and Z, people are getting bored of it because everything's become about that. And I wouldn't look at Saliba. I wouldn't look at anything Arsenal did yesterday, barring the starting lineup, and go, massive mistakes, hugely awful. Of course, there's a misplaced pass there, and that cross didn't come off. It's so normal in football. Like we're overanalyzing this stuff now. We're overanalyzing so much of the game. We're killing the game.
What you need to remember is that like these are like players at the elite level, and they're playing against forwards that are at the elite level, or defenders, whatever it is. They're going to make mistakes. They're going to get done sometimes. Just normal. Do you know what I mean? You're playing against players that are at the peak of their powers. I've seen someone talking about yesterday, like Haaland is probably, in terms of like physical specimen, probably the most imperious athlete in terms of like just pace, power, like how he can maybe like run by people. And I've seen a comment there saying that Gabriel was jogging. He wasn't jogging. He was just getting absolutely blitzed by Haaland because that's how good he is in terms of pace. You try and keep up with Haaland when he's running at full pelt, like from the halfway line. Like you seen him like against in his Dortmund days when he was running from like his own box to the other box, like to get goals. You know what I mean? It's just players, when you're playing again, especially the top games, they're gonna make mistakes, or they'll just get done by someone else who's just better. Do you know what I mean? It's just normal. Like, especially when you think about people, obviously we reminisce of like players are gone by, and we only think about the positives. It's like when you're in a relationship with someone and you think about getting back with them, you're only thinking about the positives of that relationship. You're not thinking about how annoying that person was and all the things that you hate about them. You're only thinking about the positives from the previous areas. And that's what you think about, like, say, people say, obviously, John Terry was unbelievable, Rio Ferdinand, Vidic, right? And you always think about how good they were, but you never think about the mistakes that they made, because you only think about, like, obviously, the levels that they were at.
Nostalgia,
you know what I mean?
Thing, right?
But now when they make a mistake in this day and era, like Gabriel, you can maybe criticize him or whatever, but you're just hyper focusing on that, and then you're not thinking about how imperious they have been defensively for so many last 18 months.
I think a problem, I'll be quick. I think a problem is that a lot of people actually don't understand physical sports and physics. And because they don't exercise, because they're not out there themselves, they don't understand. Terry, if we had a race, but I said to you, we start at the same point, but you have to turn around and give me a 2-second head start, who's going to win?
If me and you are racing,
Terry, even if we had listen, if us two are racing, if us two are racing, no matter how, I'll give you a 2-second start. Don't worry about that.
not a 40, to be fair. Not now.
But the point is there, like, if you're facing the opposite way, have to turn around and also have a 2-second head start, you're not gonna win.
No, even at
Haaland, that's what happened with Haaland and Gabriel. Gabriel went in for the tackle, had to turn around. By the time he's turned around, Haaland's gone. He ain't catching him, and he's rapid as well.
Yeah, like, no, I agree. I agree. I think that it's also perspective is really, really important. So, for instance, I remember when we did Friday night on the terrace, and sometimes I'd be standing there, and I'd be, when Liez was next to me, I look really tall next to Liez, because Liez is quite a short guy. But then you have someone like the Grand Dan that would come in, and I'd look like a hobbit. That wasn't because I'm overly short. I'm 5'10". What then happens is this man comes in at 6'6", so suddenly I look really short. But the thing is, I'm about average height. He's abnormally tall, and I mean that in a positive way. Where Liez is shorter than the average person. So it's perspective. Sometimes in life there are moments where you can look really quick. It's like a lot of footballers look really fast, right? There's a handful like a Langer that would look okay in a 100-meter sprint, as an example. But there are players that look pretty quick. Put them up against the fastest sprinters in the world and watch them look slow. It's just the way these things are sometimes, and we lose perspective. Andrew here says, Terry, you did it with Trent and Van Dijk every time they did a mistake. Well, that isn't true. So again, actually, no, that is true. If a mistake is made, I'll criticize it. But when they're doing the right thing, I don't. So with Trent, when I criticized him, for instance, and it was more, do you remember this? I know you saw this, Jamie, on socials.
No.
Trent wouldn't go with his runner. So I'm not saying keep up with someone who's faster than him. There's a difference here. Going with your runner, and Trent was quick. He was quicker than most players. Not going with your runner or not seeing the run or not seeing the danger is different from not being quick enough to keep up with somebody. They're not the same thing. And what I used to criticize was Hussam used to say this. Big up Hussam if you're watching. No, Terry, it's not that he didn't see the run or didn't want to or didn't go with him. Klopp tells him not to defend those situations because we're probably going to win the ball back and he needs to be ready for the counter attack. It was that I criticized because we all know it was nonsense, right? It was the way of you defending Trent not seeing the danger. For instance, when Van Dijk thought that Bruno Fernandes was going to try and take him on, so he started backtracking, ready for the one-on-one duel, but Bruno Fernandes hit it from the halfway line and scored. That's a bit of a defensive error, because had you have closed him down, that would have been there. Now, had, for instance, Saliba had the opportunity to close Haaland down and didn't take it, I would have blamed the mistake, but it wasn't a mistake. So again, I'm not going to criticize people for being outplayed. Being outplayed isn't the same as making a mistake. I'll give you an equivalence here, Andrew, and hopefully it makes sense. Criticizing David Raya for conceding the Szoboszlai free kick is ridiculous. No, you've got to criticize him for conceding it. You had to go at Bayern there for letting the corner go straight in. Fundamentally different situations and scenarios. One was an unstoppable free kick. The other was something that I've only ever seen happen on Sunday League football. Scoring direct from a corner. You can't compare the two things. One's a mistake. One, nothing can be done about, really. And I think very, very little could have been done. Is 6'7" short? Well, if you compared to giants, yes.
Everyone's just having banter with it now. You know what I'm saying? Oh, you're a short man, Terry.
It's short in the NBA.
Yeah, I mean, it is. I'm short, and compared to the NBA, I am a fucking giant compared to jockeys. I mean, it really depends which way round you say it, but it's in perspective though, because height's a really interesting thing. Because even when you're around someone that's slightly taller than you, people always look taller than they are when you actually stand next to them, if that makes sense. That's because you're looking up and your body feels it. And a lot of men
as well. Listen, brothers, I know some of you wearing them 3-foot platforms, bro. You know what I'm saying?
Bro, I tried on a pair of shoes, right? I didn't realize what they were. I was in
pair of heels.
yeah. I didn't know they were stilettos. I was in the sparkly black stilettos. Yeah, makes your calves look amazing. By the way, every man who's getting upset by me saying that, it's your insecurities, not mine. But we've got to normalize that again. Everyone who gets freaked out by that kind of comment, like, no, you're the problem, bruv, not the comment. But for me, I went into Aldo. Is it Aldo? Aldo, the shoe shop, and I tried on a pair of these trainers. And they looked like, I put them on and I didn't know that they had like inside them, they were like boosters. And I was like, oh, and I said, what is this? It goes, yeah, they give you like an extra 3 inches. And I was like, I can't do that though. All right. See, this is why I couldn't wear a shoe. Do you know why I couldn't wear a shoe like that? One, because there's only one reason. There's no other reason. Like the people I spend my time with already know, generally speaking, I don't meet very many new people anymore. If I suddenly turn up to a night out with my mates, with the family, and I'm suddenly 6'1", it's gonna be mad. It's like being bald and then turning up wearing a wig. You're never getting away with it. You know what I mean? You don't do it, young lads. Listen, I know some of you want to feel better, but like I said this to one of the young'uns that comes on our show. He mentioned these trainers a long time ago. I said, look, it's up to you if you do it right. I said, what you don't want to do is have someone who's attracted to you partly because of the height, because it's a preference, and women are allowed preferences. What you don't want to do is get back to the yard, sort of take the shoe off, and it does this. You take your shoe off and you just go. You don't want to be that guy. You don't. It's the equivalent. And only a certain generation or demographic are going to get this. It's the equivalent of a chicken fillet. Do you know what I mean? You don't want the chicken. You don't want the chicken fillet fall out. Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh, what? No, it's just true. Be honest about these things. You know what I mean? Also, listen as well. I say this to the short kings out there. If you're confident in yourself, most women don't care, and the ones that do are not for you anyway. So don't worry about it. Be comfortable with who and what. Is one of my old bosses though, Mike. Big up if you're watching. I know you tune in every now and then. He's a Liverpool fan. He's very tall. He's about 6'6". So I hated like walking down the street with him because I was just, that's like I'm out of my dad. Like he was so tall. But he always said this because he was quite bald on top. He said, I love being the height I am though. I said, why? He went, because no one knows that I'm that bald. And it was like a real funny thing. He's like, no one sees the top of my head ever. I was like, that is also true. Like if you're like 5'2" as a man and you're thinning, that I can get the insecurity because everyone can just see the top of your head. I was like, yeah, that'd be where if you're thinning but you're 6'7", who's seeing the top of your head? Birds. That's it. Only the birds are seeing your head, bro.
What I'm saying, young guys,
clouds.
Get your money up, and I guarantee you'll grow 5 inches, bro. That's all I'm saying. Get that money
in every direction. I'm just saying, in all facets. You know what I mean? Stomach as well. When you get married, doesn't it, KJ? The stomach goes. The stomach goes.
I'm still trying, man. I'm still trying. It will be gone. 2027. Let's go.
2027.
Oh, I can't. Listen. You know how hard it is, man. I'm gonna be 30 next year. You know, as soon as you turn 30, the metabolism turns into flipping fat. You know what I'm saying? Try to give myself some leeway.
Chicken fillets. That's the most London response ever. I never knew. Do you know what's really funny? I remember being a young lad and I didn't know what they were. But you know, I think we've all done this, and we're all honest about it, whether it's a slang word we use, whether it's something that an object or an item that's spoken about, and you join in with it, but you're like, I don't know what that means or what it is, but you don't want to say you don't understand, right? And I remember being about 19, and I was at someone's house, and they took them out and they put them on the side, and I just like laughing. She's like, "What are you laughing at?" I said, "I just never knew what a chicken fillet was. Now I get it because it literally, I was like, oh my god, it actually does look like a chicken fillet. Amazing." But listen,
how long you like ram? How long you like ram?
It's one of the funniest stories ever. Young Ram, who's a Liverpool fan that comes on our shows. I think we weren't on live. We weren't live. We were backstage. It was lockdown time.
Oh.
So we'd do our shows, and then we'd all sit backstage for 2, 3, 4 hours talking, playing computer, because everyone was stuck at home. And we were talking about going out and nightlife and whatever. And somebody, I don't remember who brought this up, was like Ram, have you ever been out and got like a dirty wine? And then we were like, and I think or someone else, he doesn't know what a dirty wine is.
Yeah, we're like, we don't know what a dirty wine.
I do. So what is a dirty wine? He goes, listen, I've been drunk before, I've had that. He's like, he said it like it was a drink. And that's that moment when you realize that don't ever pretend that you know something that you don't, because it will end up, it was amazing. It was amazing.
I've been drunk before,
I've been drunk before.
You have to be there. You have to be there. 2020 TFT, what a time to be alive, man. Flipping out.
No, it was amazing. It was amazing. And but no, listen, by the way, any young ladies that do a chicken fillet, whatever makes you feel good about yourself, feel free to do it. It's your life. Always remember that. Always remember that. I want football to be football.
Yeah.
Oh yes, but what I agree, and I agree with you. I watch football now compared to 20 years ago. I knew it was a goal. Now I'm here. I'm sat here for 90 minutes, 365 days a week, waiting for VAR. Football is finished. See, I look at it like I am and I'm not. I think VAR plays an important part. I saw too many goals ruled out that should have been given. I saw too many goals given that should have been ruled out for years. I just think they've overcomplicated the process behind it. It's like it's crazy to me. Certain things are given, certain things are not. And of all the technology we've got, there's still times where corners aren't given when they should be. You think, well, how are we not giving corners and throw-ins 100% of the time when you've got the camera and tech that can do it, as an example? So they've just overcomplicated it. What's the next offside rule? If you go past the linesman, that's offside. It don't matter what team. The offside rule is effing dumb. It's always given to the defenders. Football ain't football anymore.
No, the offside rule is not dumb. It's actually one of the most transformative rules in the game of football, because people could literally just stand up front and you just hoof it up. No one wants to see that. No one wants to see Chris Wood and them man there just standing up there and you just lob it up to them because they're flipping massive. Like, come on, the rules aren't dumb. It's just how they go through the process of showing offside is the problem. Like, that's what it is.
How we implement them.
Yeah, implementation. Like I said the other day, ideas are great, but if you can't implement them, it doesn't mean anything.
No, I totally agree. I agree. He says they are doing it by the inches of the grass next offside season. Well, look, for me, I do think it should be an objective rule. And I think with modern day technology, you should be able to get as close to one. This is the way I look at the Bruno Fernandes decision, because it's semi-automated now and it's very accurate. Is we are now getting the most accurate offside decisions in the history of football. We just need that process to be quick, and we need better communication. I don't know if you guys heard during the Bournemouth. It wasn't I think it was Bournemouth game. They accidentally played through the audio from the VAR team. It came through, and it was there's nothing sinister in it. And I'm sitting there like, I don't think people. This is where the Premier League are thick, the FA are thick, PGMO are thick. If we could hear what they were saying, I honestly do think that by and large we'd be more relaxed. Half the issue we have is, why is it taking so long? If we understand why it's taking so long or what they're looking at, it's like, well, okay, I get that angle, I get that, but they always try and shrink things down. And even when they released the Fulham goal thing, they didn't release it on. Have you noticed now they don't release referee mic'd up now on socials? They post it on the Premier League website, so they have to make it transparent, but they sort of put it out and then they kind of hide it. Does that make sense? They're not. Well, if they're not putting it on their own YouTube channel anymore, where 4.5 million people are getting notifications that it's out, they're putting it on a website. So unless you look for it, you don't find it. It's the cloak and dagger stuff that's crazy. Evan here says, apologies, I forgot Liverpool fans' name. It's Jamie. He says a question is for him. Do you think Szoboszlai will ultimately nail down the position instead of Wirtz?
See, the thing is like, if you actually go through that midfield, they're all pretty young, so it is going to be a battle. I think the one thing is, the one thing with this Liverpool team is there's so much quality from all the players in the squad now. So like, if you're not performing, you're not going to play. Similar to like Ekitike. Like I think Ekitike has probably maybe been under the impression that if I want to get game time, I need to be able to perform, and that's what he's doing. Do you know what I mean? Isak is obviously trying to still get a little bit match fit, and the likelihood is that he will come in. But if Ekitike is still playing well, then he's gonna get game time some way or another. Do you know what I mean? So will Szoboszlai potentially be ahead of Wirtz? I could see a world where that happens in terms of playing that midfield three as the midfield three, and then Wirtz maybe interchanging with Gakpo on the left-hand side. I think that might be something that that Slot looks to use. But like, even if you look at our midfield, like Szoboszlai sometimes now has been playing as a right back. McAllister is still trying to figure out his fitness. So like, they'll be interchanging so much that I don't.
Oh, your mic's cut
midfield
out,
three.
Oh, your back came back.
Yeah.
Sorry. I don't need to be a set midfield three. I think they'll just constantly change between them and figure it out.
Yeah, I always go back to great super chat. Great question, Evan. I look at it this way. Everyone knew Klopp's best 11 in that peak squad he had. But I always remember reading this article, and I'll try and find the article again and save it as a reference point. And it demonstrated that over about an 18-month period, that best 11 only started 4 games together. So I think you've got to bear that in mind. There is, with 5 subs as well now, it's one of those things. And I know it costs a lot of money, Wirtz, but he doesn't need to be Liverpool's best player in his first season. It just doesn't need to happen. I know social media needs it to happen so he doesn't get pressure, but Stern here says the players have to judge offside by the eye, so the officials should too. It's the mismatch that makes it unfair. Okay, but this is where I disagree. So it's like the mismatch isn't unfair because we want the decisions to be as accurate as possible. There's no way of a computer. You're looking at it along the lines of, well, a boxing judge should have to be in the ring, really, shouldn't they? Dancing around like the fighter because they're judging it from an angle that the fighter doesn't have. I mean, that's kind of the point of the decision making. So no, we want the decisions to be accurate. It's why I think, the VAR, the elements of VAR that are good is giving a referee a second chance to look at an incident. Where I think they get it wrong is they often will show a tackle in really super slow-mo and it always looks worse. Show it in slow motion, show it in real time, show it from a couple of... I don't mind waiting a minute or two for the ref to maybe catch his breath and think about these things. But of course, to say that it should all be done by... Again, if you want it to go back to all eye test, that's fine. But then there's no moaning when the mistakes happen. Mm-hmm. Because the one thing I would say about the offsides, barring times when they haven't drawn the lines properly or they made a mistake and didn't check something, the decisions are as accurate as possible. I want accurate, correct decisions, not inaccurate judgments. So I think we should aim towards getting more right than wrong.
I saw Lou mention having leeway because it's about unfair advantage. Where is it? The line should be wider. But here's the thing with that, Lou. I get where you're coming from, but then there always will be a tight call, which, that's not fair. We should make the leeway even bigger and bigger to the point where it's like you either just not have offsides or have none of. Yeah, like the line is always going to be the line, no matter how wide you make it.
Yeah, no matter how much the leeway is, someone's always at some point you're always going to be a millimeter offside. There's always going to be that point, and I get where you're coming from, Lou, and you probably would be fine with. Well, if you gain more than a foot advantage, that is in a literal foot, or more than 6 inches, or more, then that's the limit. The issue that you have is, I've spoken about this before. I'll go back to the banking days because I know it winds up my trolls. You used to take 5 days to get a bank card. People moaned. Then 2 days, they were happy. After a period of time, 2 days was too long. They would moan. So we reduced it so we could print it in the branch, which they loved. They didn't complain. But after a year or so, people complained about waiting 20 minutes for a new card. All that would happen because of the way humans operate, and you know this, you work in retail, you know what people are like. What would happen is over time is, first of all, you go, it's much better. These type calls are gone. But then you get used to it, and then it becomes a new thing. I think whatever you do, you're always going to get a large group of people that are unhappy. I just think we've got to pick a way of doing it, whether your way is the right way, the way it currently is. I'm for any of them. And then we have to aim to make those decisions as accurate and as quick as possible and just sort of stick to them. But getting the graphics right, I don't mind the tight call, but the constitutes as an unfair advantage is more my point. I do hear you. I mean, the point is, I quite like the daylight rule. There's no, with the technology, you can do it. If there's no daylight, then you're on. So if your shoulder is just slightly ahead of a player, then I'm all for that being given as onside. If you're like a body length and there's daylight between you two, then it's offside. I mean, there's people that want that. Yeah. So
Wenger mentioned the whole like, as long as a body part is onside, then you're still onside.
But then I see it the other way. We all support teams that are quite attacking. So, of course, we're always going to favour it for the attackers. But what about all the fans and the clubs and the managers that have to play because of money, mainly now, more pragmatically? They might view it as, well, it's easier then for the attackers to score because you're running past us. So as long as you're timing it where you're not fully ahead of us, you're always going to be onside, which means we're going to have to start running back earlier, which means we're going to break our lines, which means we're easier to score against. They may view it as, well, no, you're trying to score against us. You shouldn't be given the advantage. We should. I think that's why it's hard. That's why it's hard. You're never going to find one way that suits. I don't think. The
reasoning of unfair advantage needs to be changed too. It just makes the game better. Because if offsides were just,
it would make the game better. There'd be much more goals in games, as an example. Again, I'm for it. Whatever they decide, I'm not. I'm never really that panicky about those things. I'm just, well, if you're going to introduce it, just get it introduced and stick to it and make it work. The advantage becomes the unadvantage in the end.
I don't know. I don't know what angle that's
I love
from,
you now,
know?
but I don't know. Maybe listen. I didn't study philosophy. I don't know. Maybe that is a really famous quote from some philosopher, Socrates or the Hunchback of Notre Dame or something. I don't know. Whatever Notre Dame is. That is, again. If you think I'm serious, you've got to watch Sopranos, right? That's a great scene. I'm just saying the connections between Notre Dame and Notre Dame. Quasi. It's so funny. If you've never seen the scene, this guy's like talking about a Quasimodo. He's like, a Quasi who? He goes, he predicted 9/11. And that Quasimodo, he says, a Quasimodo is the Hunchback of Notre Dame. That's not Notre Dame, right? And the guy is so stupid. He's like, yeah, but you got to admit the connection's crazy. Well, what do you mean? He says, well, here in America, we have Notre Dame, who is the college that's named after the church. And he was like, and Notre Dame has halfbacks and quarterbacks, and yet Quasimodo is a hunchback. It is the dumbest thing, but it's such a beautiful, beautiful scene, man. Such a beautiful scene. Listen, I want to thank every single person who's tuned in. This is going to redirect you to Hassam's show, so go and check it out, please, people. We're back live 6 p.m. UK time tonight for Six-Sided as we go into some really good talking points about the weekend. So join me and the panel later on today for that. Until next time, everybody, take care. Goodbye. God bless. And we'll see you all again very, very soon. Peace.